All right. It is Tuesday night. I have to be precise here. It's a Tuesday night at 7:09 p.m. because the way things are going, things could change by the minute. So
Right.
as of right now, Brandon Aiyuk is not a Steeler.
I am not lying, Joe. I did back-to-back articles today on Ayuk will not be a Steeler. Oh, wait, maybe he will be. It was literally how it went because first Adam Schefter came out and said there's no chance that he's going to be a Steeler. And then Ian Rappaport came out and said, well, wait, the Steelers aren't out of the running yet. It's there's Bentley's head popping into the camera. The heavy breathing would also not be me. That's my bulldog. And yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy. I mean, he's really dictating this whole situation. And I thought it was really interesting to listen to Rappaport talk about how different this trade is. He said he's never seen one this complex drag on for this long. And it's really because of the power that Ayuk has in this situation with this. I guess it's like a no trade clause in his contract. So if he doesn't want to go to the Browns, regardless of how good the offer is, if San Francisco or Patriots or the Steelers or anywhere else, he can say no to that and they can't trade it.
Yeah, it's a unique situation because there's basically two components. It's not just the 49ers deciding to trade him, it's you have to sign Ayuk to a long-term deal.
Yeah, you
So,
got to make both sides happy. That's a lot.
right. And what it sounds like, as the situation changes by the minute, is the 49ers have found a couple teams that they're willing to trade him.
Yeah.
But Ayuk's like, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to go to Cleveland. I don't blame him there. I don't want to go to New England. I don't blame him there either. That's a bad situation.
Yeah.
Uh, so in theory, and it sounds like the other team is Washington, and Washington really, I don't know, they don't really seem all that interested. So really, if in theory, if there's really only one team that would work, and that's the Steelers, then maybe the Steelers can, get a better kind of deal and not have to give up too much. But it's just
I said this earlier to somebody, I think it's wild, months ago. And I mean, 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, whatever it was, when we are talking about this trade initially, that was the conversation was that, obviously there's a lot of people who felt like there was going to be this immediate influx of interest, people, everybody clamoring for Brandon Aiyuk and then, they were going to outbid one another and the stakes are going to be so high to have him. And then when that didn't happen, a lot of people started to say, well, maybe his value is going to drop some and they're not going to be able to get as much as, they initially wanted for him, that being a first round pick and a really valuable player or whatever that is. But it doesn't sound like anybody's wants are dropping. And the Steelers, from what we've seen from Omar Khan, are not going to make deals that are not in the best interest of Pittsburgh. So I think that the Steelers will hold pat, and that's a good thing. We've seen other teams, Washington comes to mind, sell the farm to be able to get certain players. And then, you look, Denver did it with Russell Wilson, and then you screwed the pooch for years to come. And I would prefer we didn't put ourselves into that kind of bankrupt situation. Although I would like to see a deal worked out for Ayuk, I'm very hesitant on what I'm willing to give away. I've offered Dan Moore and and maybe James Daniels
there you
as
go.
a possible trade. I feel like that's worth it. I'd even throw in Calvin Austin the third, and I kind of like the kid.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny, you hear 49ers and they're like, yeah, we'll take Joey Porter Jr. and Alex Highsmith and
I
throw
mean,
TJ
TJ
Watt.
Watt, yeah, we could get out of here. Get out of here. Like we can't trade any. I heard Alex's Highsmith's name a lot, and I'm just saying that cannot happen because we have just gotten our defense like to where they finally need to be after spending like trillions of dollars on them. We cannot afford to like take one Lego piece. It's like playing Jenga. We can't pull a block out of this tower or that defense will collapse. I mean, we've seen
Right.
it happen with missing components every other year.
Not that, I mean, anything is possible, but it would be extremely unlikely that they would trade Highsmith only because they just redid his contract.
Right. It doesn't make sense. It
They redid
doesn't.
his contract. If they did trade him, they would get a massive cap hit.
Yeah, it doesn't
So
make any sense.
that doesn't make any sense. I don't.
Also, the cry for them to take Cam Hayward is absurd because as much as I love Cam Hayward and I want the Steelers to extend him, San Francisco is not going to take our 35-year-old D lineman who was banged up last season in trade for Brandon Aiyuk. Get out of here.
Even Cam Hayward responded like, "Excuse me."
He's like, hey, somebody get your man. Whose man is this? I mean, come on now. It was
It
ridiculous.
it's
I
very
love
it.
Cam. I don't want to see Cam go
You
anywhere. I want to
can't
see
get
Cam
rid of
stay
you.
a Steeler.
You
But come
can't.
on.
You
They
you
just say
can't.
all kinds. I mean, they were even talking about maybe Russell Wilson. Like, we just got him. We just
Russell
got him. These
Wilson.
people, and these must be Browns fans disguised as Steelers fans on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny that the Browns are the other team that really wants. I'm like, oh God.
Right, of course it is.
Browns, have you not learned anything? You're still dealing with the big trade you did make with the quarterback and how that wonderfully work out.
Yeah, every time I
Somehow.
turned on Twitter today, it looked like Deshaun Watson was throwing a pick six. So it'll be interesting to see how that works for them.
I'm predicting that he is going to be a disaster for the Browns. I think yeah, I think that was just a it's been a bad deal and it'll continue to be a bad deal even if he is healthy. I have a feeling that just all these people saying, "Oh, the Browns are going to be really good this year." It's like, well,
Mm,
not maybe if they get rid of their quarterback.
yeah, I think that's going to be a struggle.
I don't understand why the 49ers just don't say, hey, buddy, we got you this year. We could franchise you next year, and we could franchise you the year after that. So we could keep you for 3 years, and there's nothing you could do about it unless you pull a Le'Veon Bell and just take a
Yeah.
whole year off or some stupid thing like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard, I don't know. It's hard to know what's going on, behind closed doors. It sounded like they offered him 26 million according to like the scuttlebutt, but which is reportedly like 4 million off of what he wants. And this to me, if I was getting 26 versus 30 million, I mean, that's a lot of $4 million is a lot of money for me.
Seriously, I'll take the difference.
But I mean, seriously, like I don't know. It doesn't feel like a lot of money to me on either side. Like I feel like what is Brandon Ayuk's target goal? Because if you're talking about wanting to win a Super Bowl, I mean, San Fran is there. Do you know what I mean? They're there. So why do you want to leave that? If that's, I always think that would be my ultimate goal as a football player. I'd be the player that would take a team friendly deal. I would be willing to work it out to stay with my team. So to me, that seems like why he wants to come to Pittsburgh to be with a successful franchise, but he's at a successful franchise.
He's at a successful franchise, at a team he knows and likes and knows everything
Yeah.
about, in a
And they
system
love
he
him.
likes.
Yeah.
No matter where he goes, whether it's Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Washington, whatever, who knows if he's going to be good? I mean, I guess he doesn't care because he's making all that money, but still,
Yeah.
who,
But don't you
who
want him to
knows?
care? I want him to care. I want him to care. I want him to be like super invested in this. Do you know what I mean? Like, look, everybody can't be Patrick Queen, but that guy rolled into Pittsburgh like he was born a Yinzer. He's so happy to be here. He's embraced the city and the culture. He's already shit talking Baltimore. I mean, he's right where he needs to be. And I mean, that's how you want to see players roll in. Do you know what I mean? Not just like all about the money. I haven't heard Patrick Crane talk once about how he's our highest paid free agent signing in history ever. Do you know what I mean? He's happy to be at Primanti Brothers.
Right, right, yeah, yeah. It's just, I just wanted to. We've been dealing with this for like 6 months now.
I'm
Just,
over it.
just, just do something. Decide one way or the other. I don't care. Come here, don't come here. Just make a decision,
Yeah, put,
man.
put us out of our misery already. I'm over it. I really am.
Seriously.
Whatever it is whatever it is. But I'm with you on that. I'm at the point where I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired of writing about it. Like, let's just move on. It's going to be whatever it's going to be, and I wish him well,
There are some funny
unless he's in
tweets out
Cleveland.
there. Uh, Someone said something like, "My sources tell me he will play for one of the 32 teams in the National Football League. He has narrowed his decision down to the AFC or the NFC." Like,
There's even a podcast out there called The Source. I laughed so hard today because then when you talk about them, you have to say the source said. I'm like, oh, come on. How creative is that? Why didn't I think of that?
the quote unquote insider wars are so funny because
Yes.
so many people are
Yes.
like, some dude with like 300 followers are like, I know exactly what's going on, and
Right.
eventually, the real insiders like Adam Schefter and all those guys
Yeah,
are
like you
like,
don't know
okay,
anything.
okay, calm down. Okay, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't know anything. I mean,
Oh my
really.
goodness. Pretty Ricky is never wrong.
Yeah, I wish I
You
knew who
man.
Pretty Ricky was. I spent a way too long down a rabbit hole yesterday trying to figure out who that is in real life because I was like, this has to be somebody. Like, and then I'm like, it's probably not. All these guys like Pickensburg and all those guys are like 19-year-olds and like game with people and in their mom's basements
Well,
and get
what
these
they
huge followings.
do is they just take like one little piece of truth here and one little piece of truth there and just come up to some grand conclusion. And if it happens to be true, they're like, yeah, I told you, I told you.
It's
Oh,
so true. I post articles all the time, and so look, it's no secret that like writing for a group like Steeler Nation, like I do, we aren't writing our opinions. Do you know what I mean? I'm not writing like LeeAnn thinks blah blah blah. I'm writing like Tom Pelissaro said
yeah.
this, right? So you put your article out and it's got a headline and it says whatever it says, and then that'll go like sometimes it'll go viral and people will be like, look what this idiot thinks. I'm like, you clearly didn't read the article because I am an idiot, but I didn't say that. Like
What's
this
the
idiot didn't
worst?
say that. Do you know what I mean?
It's
That came from someone else. But you're right. I think it's a big part of what happens with all of this stuff on social media is everybody wants to be so trigger happy and quick to be the person who gets things out or to make the joke or to talk about it that I think a lot of times the truth or the reality of the situation gets lost in the details.
so many of these accounts are just engagement farming.
Yeah.
They're just looking for to
Yeah.
go
And
viral,
don't get me
to
wrong,
have something.
they're funny. Like they are a lot of
Oh
times
yeah.
definitely like really funny. Like I'll give Pickensburg and those guys a lot of credit. They're really, really funny.
Yeah.
Well done. Well played.
So, yeah, the saga continues. We'll just, buddy, just pick something. I don't
I think
care.
our grandkids will be talking about like Ayuk might be going to Pittsburgh. Years from now, they'll still be talking
Yeah,
about it. We'll still be wondering.
we'll still be wondering. Um, Another big story is what's going on with the quarterbacks, and
Yeah. All right.
I, I think it's been a pretty big development. We heard this that Russell Wilson was hurt. He hurt his calf in a
Yeah.
conditioning drill. He was pushing a sled or something like that. I don't
Which
know if
is
that really.
wild. Wild.
I don't know whether that happened or not, but Justin Fields has basically been playing almost the entire training camp, and now Russell Wilson is playing a little bit. But and now people are like, oh, there's a quarterback controversy. Justin Fields is winning the race and stuff. Uh, do you think Justin Fields actually has a chance of starting?
I don't. I really don't. I think that they've been very transparent all along that Russell Wilson's going to start. Do I think that that means at some point Justin Fields might find himself in? Yes. I heard a couple of different people talk about how there's concerns now with this like pulled hamstring or calf or whatever it was that Wilson was feeling. Is he going to wind up at his age being a little more injury prone? And does that mean we're going to see a little bit more of Fields? Is he not going to be willing to like risk himself as much as somebody younger might be? And so then we'll see more of Fields. So I think that those things are valid. But I think that Fields performed much better than people expected over those 2 weeks that he was in. I think he looked sharper than people expected. He looked crisper. He was connecting. You still saw some minor issues with some accuracy, but you saw Wilson come out there today and it looked like Fields kind of crumbled a little bit. He was not performing as well. He got stuffed at the goal line at one point, I saw. So it made me wonder today if Wilson was like, you know what, like hold my beer, let me go out here and show these guys I've still got it, and I didn't need to be doing this the whole time. Do you know what I mean? And I'm get them to shut up about how I'm not playing. Do you know what I mean? And just to prove that he was okay and that he still had it. I have no idea if he injured himself hitting a sled, but that is the most bizarre thing I've ever heard in my life that you have an NFL quarterback hitting a sled. I mean, I think they stopped doing that in like 1974.
Why would you have a quarterback
It makes zero
push
sense.
push a
It doesn't
sled?
make any sense. Yeah.
See, everybody's like, how can this conditioning staff do something? For all we know, Russell Wilson would have been might have been all gung ho and said, "Yeah, let's do this. All right."
Right. And obviously, like you said, this hasn't been confirmed by anybody like in the know. Do you know what I mean? So it's who knows, do you know what I mean? What really happened? Do you know what I mean? I saw in like Ray Fittipaldo's chat this morning. He said, look, there's a new strength and conditioning group, as everybody knows. Maybe they got a little overzealous, or maybe it never happened. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who knows? It could have been anything.
Here's what I think. I think that they've been trying. I think they've used these first couple weeks as like an audition for
Yeah.
Justin Fields because I think what they're doing is they want to see, hey, who's gonna be our quarterback a year from now?
Yeah.
Because we don't know. We don't know.
We've seen Isaac Seumalo sitting out a whole bunch of days, right? Why? Because he doesn't need the practice that some of the younger guys do. Do you know what I mean? Get the younger guys in there. So is this something like that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just don't need that practice. So you get these younger guys in there, and that would be Fields in this case.
yeah, yeah. I just wonder. I just wonder if like at the end of the like right before the season, are they going to try to sign Justin Fields to like a 3-year deal or something like that to say, okay, you sit out this year, but you're our guy going forward. I don't know.
I don't think it's the dumbest idea. I mean, remember, we restructured Alex Highsmith. We got some money in the kitty there. Do you know what I mean? To do something with for a rainy day. And maybe that's winds up being the plan. They don't find a wide receiver in this. You know what I mean? They're obviously don't look like they're seeking out a cornerback. So maybe this is what they do is they come up with some kind of a deal for Justin Fields. I don't think it's the worst idea in the world. I really don't. I think if they can go ahead and sign him while he's still feeling a little bit pressured and insecure, then maybe that's a good thing and you get him for a steal. He
Get him
has
cheap.
talent. The talent's undisputable. You know what I mean? But can he channel the running together with a solid pass game and something that works with Arthur Smith? And maybe this workout he's been getting is like the way of building up his hope and his confidence, and he can see like, look, see, you can do this here. Sign
Yeah.
the contract.
Yeah. It seems like that what they want to do is take all of the bad things that happen in Chicago and just correct them.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
as they should.
you have a lot of problems. You threw interceptions, you fumbled, you did all these things. Let's correct them. Let's work on
Yeah.
that. And maybe that'll take a year and that's fine. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface of his real talent. The dude is maybe the best running quarterback ever. He is a freak.
He really
And
is.
and we're not even seeing that. We're just seeing him throw it around. So
And he wouldn't be the first player to not perform well at a team X and in the NFL and then go to another team and find his home and his spot. I mean, look, Minka Fitzpatrick did it when he came to
mhm.
Pittsburgh. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't doing well in Miami. We're seeing a little bit of that, although it's very early, out of Van Jefferson, that he's performed much better. He's performing more like that second round draft pick that he is than performing how he was. So maybe there is some truth in that, the rumors about how Chicago just wasn't a beneficial place for him and Pittsburgh works better for him and he's performing better there.
Well, speaking of Van Jefferson, it sounds like he's making a case for that wide receiver too.
He is. It's kind of wild. I said this on something the other day that the beginning of last week, as we were heading into week two, the media guys for Pittsburgh were all saying, well, we kind of expected a wide receiver too to be bubbling to the top here. Do you know what I mean? And we aren't seeing anybody. And then by Thursday of last week, they were like, whoa, Van Jefferson, he is definitely emerging as the second wide receiver. Do you know what I mean? This week he's really shown all of this talent going up, making these catches. Do you know what I mean? Positive attitude.
There's this story, and I guess it's true, where basically he heard Antonio Brown say, well, Antonio Brown after practice would catch like 300 balls. Maybe I should catch 300 balls. Like,
Yeah, there's
cool.
a video of him on
Okay.
social media the other day with the jugs machine. I guess one of one of the training staff told him, or assistant coaches told him about Brown doing that. And he said, you know what, I'm going to do that too. I think it's amazing. I love that. I love hearing stuff like that. I think that's just serious dedication. I think this guy's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. I think that's going to be our theme for the year in Pittsburgh this year is we've got all these guys with chips on their shoulders. And I think they're going to have something to prove. I mean, you think about it. TJ Watt's mad from DPOY last year. Cam Hayward is here, sick of hearing people talk about him being old. You know, we got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Do you know what I mean? So you got even down to Dan Moore. I mean, you've got all
Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, do you know what I mean? Jalen Warren too, because he wants to prove something. So you've
Mm-hmm.
got all these guys with Arthur Smith. You've got all these guys, even Mike
Mm-hmm.
Tomlin, frankly,
Oh yeah.
with these chips on their shoulders. And I think that's going to wind up kind of being the theme of this year is that they're going to channel that, doubt that people have had and into something really productive. Knock on wood.
I'm glad Van Jefferson is picking up Antonio Brown's good habits and
Right.
not the show up in a hot air balloon and
Yeah.
throw furniture out of high rises
Gummy
habits.
weenies or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Stick to the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. The other big story is what's going on with the offensive line. Are
Yeah.
we just going to see Fautanu at right tackle and Broderick Jones at left tackle, or are they going to play with us, or are we going to see Zach Frazier? It kind of seems like Nate Herbig is going to be the starting center. Frazier's not there yet, but it
Yeah.
kind of
Did you
does
see
seem
they
like
issued their first depth chart this afternoon? The Steelers did. And I was really surprised to see that they had Dan Moore at left tackle and Broderick Jones at right tackle. And then Fautanu, I guess, is the swing tackle, but back there behind Dan Moore on the left. And they did name Nate Herbig as the starting center. And I know that this is early, and who knows, maybe the Steelers are just needling people with this depth chart a little bit. But, it kind of surprised me considering what we had seen today at camp. Do you know what I mean? Sounded contrary to that.
yeah. I mean, it is early. We'll
Yeah.
see, but
I forget who said it this morning. One of the Pittsburgh media guys said it this morning that he really thinks that they're just going to let these guys work it out on the field. You know what I mean? Like that Pittsburgh doesn't have this, the Steelers staff don't have this image of the pegs, the holes that every peg belongs in. Do you know what I mean? And instead they're going to kind of let these guys play, let them shift around a bit and see what makes the most sense. And I hope that's true because that seems to make sense to me. But, because I felt like last year we kind of tried to jam them into places we thought they should belong and they didn't.
yeah, yeah.
And you got Moore who's resistant. He's obviously resistant. Do you know what I mean? To moving. So then you're stuck with that too. So if he believes he can't do it, how well is he going to perform?
I don't get that. I don't get that. It's like, hey, buddy, you want a job? Learn right tackle. It's real quick.
Blows my
It's really
mind. Blows my mind. Like you aren't good enough to be like stubborn. Like you are not good enough. Like if you're somebody else, you can be stubborn. You know what I mean? You're not that good.
like, who are you? Who
Right.
are you? Hey,
Yeah.
hey, here's a crazy idea. What do you think they could get for Dan Moore in a trade? I would think like a fourth or fifth round or something
I
like
think
that.
fourth or fifth round. I think fifth round. And I think it would have to be somebody who really needs, an offensive lineman. Somebody gets hurt at camp and they need somebody. But those things happen all the time. Those things happen all the time. Injuries at camp and people are out.
You know what? Dan Moore is going to have a very long career in the NFL. He's going to make a lot of money. You can make a lot of money being an average to below average tackle in this league and a starter. He's
He
shown
is
he can.
just good enough. He is just good enough
Exactly.
to skate by and to be able to be out there and to not get cut from a team. Do you know what I mean? And look, I'm not knocking him. I've said over and over again that Dan Moore has outplayed his draft position. I think people forget, do you know what I mean? That he was a later round pick. It wasn't like he was a first or second rounder. So I think he's outplayed his draft position, but that still doesn't mean that he's our best choice on this offensive line that's so very young, that we need talent to surround these quarterbacks, talent to help things get going with Arthur Smith. I will give Dan Moore a lot of credit it sounds like he always works really hard. He's trying really hard. It sounds like he's an outstanding leader to these young players on the
Yeah.
team. Like he's not begrudging them the opportunity to learn under him. So I give him a lot of credit for that. That can't be easy, training your replacement over and over and over again.
Right. Imagine it works. So, your boss says, "Hey, we brought in this person. He's going to
Yeah.
replace you. Can you
Yeah.
train him?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
Get out of here. Right. No thanks.
yeah, yeah." So we'll see how that goes. And then the defense. I mean, Beanie Bishop looks like it's going to be the slot corner.
Wow.
Man, undrafted free agents, and you're a starter on a defense?
I love it. He wants it so badly. I love it. I'm not, look, Cam Sutton's story is a whole nother topic. Do you know what I mean? So, regardless of how anybody feels about what happened with him and the Steelers signing him and not signing him, or whatever, he is suspended, and it's giving Bishop this opportunity to go out there and really shine. And I hope he plays so well that they're like, Cam Sutton, who, when he comes back from his suspension, we don't need him.
Imagine Cam Sutton coming back is like, "Okay, guys, I'm here." It's like, "Yeah, okay, the bench is over there, buddy.
Right,
We're,
right.
we're good."
Can
Um,
you wipe off Beanie's helmet for him? It got 40 on the left side.
yeah, yeah. It very much seems like they showed him tape of Mike Hilton and say, "Hey, whatever that guy did, you do
Yeah.
that. You do the exact same thing."
Yeah, he looks fantastic. I love it. And he sounds like he knows, that he's going to have to help out in a variety of different ways. You know what I mean? He's got this great attitude. He's just out there doing the best he can. And yeah, and the Steelers have a knack for finding those guys, those kind of undrafted, diamonds in the rough. We've had many, many of them over the years.
Yeah, yeah. Just undrafted free agent.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
Um, to me, a big surprise in camp is Dante Jackson actually looks good.
He does. He
That's
does.
a shocker.
And it makes you wonder, and again, like back to the conversation about Fields, and maybe since Chicago wasn't a good fit for him, maybe Jackson just wasn't performing well in the kind of broken system that they have in Carolina, and he certainly wouldn't be the only player in the world that struggled there. So that does make some sense. I think he, like some of the other new players we've acquired, seems very eager and happy to be in Pittsburgh. He's excited about the opportunity. He's raring to go, and he looks really good. I thought
That's
he would look solid. I didn't think he would look this solid. I thought he would look fine. And
I
I
was
think he'd
I
still be worse.
expected nothing.
Yeah.
I'm in shock. And I mean, maybe it just goes to show he was on a, like Justin Fields. I was on a really bad team, and now you're on a better team, and
I'm going
everything
to
was
say, though,
better.
that my expectations after last season's training camp and preseason, I'm making myself keep them at about 0 this season, because I got so hyped last year. And you've known me a long time, Joe. I am always the optimistic fan. We're always going to go into playoffs. We're always going to go like some crazy win 14 games or something. I mean, I am always that person. But when we played as well as we did last preseason, I mean, we looked amazing. I thought we're
Oh
unstoppable.
my
We
goodness.
got smushed by San Francisco week 1. I mean, I didn't even expect us to win that game. I just didn't expect us to get slaughtered. And like my heart was crushed. So I'm trying not to get like that optimistic this year. I'm trying to look at things in individual pieces and be like, oh, that's good, and not put a lot of stock in the collective, because who knows?
We were all fooled. It
Yeah,
wasn't
we're
just you. We
hoodwinked
were
by
all
Kenny Pickett
fooled. My
and his
goodness.
fancy.
Anytime the first team offense went on the field, they were perfect. Kenny Pickett looked amazing.
Looked amazing. Matt Canada looked good. We were like, "Ooh, what are all these plays we've never seen before?" And then they were like, "Psych."
I think that San Francisco game basically sunk the whole season. That
It
was,
really like broke. I think it broke people's spirit. Like I think sometimes you can have losses that fire you up. We've seen it happen to the Steelers. You get fired up. You didn't. I think it happened to us with those 3 losses in a row. You know what I mean? I think by that 3rd loss, we were fired up from that, not defeated, and we were able to bounce back when they brought in Mason. But I felt like that San Francisco game really just, I think the players felt like we felt, they were so optimistic and then they just felt crushed.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, really broke their spirit. I mean, yeah, whew, that was a bad loss. Oof.
So I have a
Oof.
question for you. What do you think about this upcoming joint practice with the Buffalo Bills? Did you see there was a giant fight
Oh
today between the
my
Giants and the Lions
God.
at their joint practice? Like a huge,
Every single time two teams get together for a joint practice, that's all they do is
I know,
fight.
I know.
Stop doing them. That's really
Yeah, I don't really, I mean, I understand it in theory, like why it in theory is a good idea, but I agree with you. It just sounds like, that everybody takes things. You hear the players that were Steelers when we did this the last time we did this talk about, I think it was the Lions last time, talk about like how all they did was fight because you feel like you have something to prove. You're out there, you take all this stuff personally, you take the insults personally, and they get so angry and they wind up getting in all these fights. And so it just sounds like a recipe to get somebody injured to me.
yeah. When you have a situation where for these past couple weeks, and especially the Steelers, who are in an especially physical
Yeah.
training camp, and all they've been doing is beating up each other, and now they
Yeah.
have a chance to beat up someone else.
Yeah.
And I mean, heck, even the Steelers themselves get into fights with each other.
Yeah.
Ooh, ooh.
Although I do think that was a good thing. I was really glad to see that the offense came to Justin Fields' defense like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that, look, maybe it was happening and we weren't hearing about it as much last year and the year before, but I don't remember hearing the offense coming to Kenny Pickett's defense that way. Do you know what I mean? But they took this very personally, and this was his young offensive lineman. I mean, that shows you he's clicking with these guys. He's building a relationship. They believe in him.
They did the same thing at the end of Ben's career.
Yes.
Like Ben would get sacked or knocked down or something like that, and nobody would help him up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Help the guy up. He's your teammate. What the
Yeah.
hell?
Yeah. And you can tell that was a huge difference between the Ramon Foster, Marquise Pouncey, David Castro, et cetera group. Do you know what I mean? Where that group was so tight, that unit was so tight. That was like culture shock to see in Pittsburgh, the offensive line kind of fall apart the way they did it. I mean, they looked like they had no connection with one another or Ben and then Kenny. And so it's nice to see that coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've spent a lot of draft capital and time and money on this offensive line, and they got it now. Broderick Jones is a beast. They're hoping that Fautano is a beast. They're hoping that Zach Frazier is a beast. These are all rookies.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's establish that new elite class of offensive line. Let's
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, but mature rookies. I mean, they're a little bit older than, you know what I mean, than some of the other rookies this year. So I think that's nice to see too. Do you know what I mean? These guys are slightly more mature. I think Faltane is like 24, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, that's a good age. Do you know what I mean? And kind of getting over some of your silly stuff.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Juju was like what, 19 when he came in the league or something.
Right, right. I think he just
Wild.
turned 24 or something like
Yeah,
that.
something like wild.
Um, Another weird thing is they got this fullback, Jack Coletto. Are they actually going to use a fullback? That would be cool.
Yeah, and he is really kind of impressed people. I think he's another one that they, a lot of, came on and people felt like, yeah, we'll see what he can do. And he's given old Connor Hayward a run for his money. You know what I mean? He looks really good. They're talking a lot about, obviously Hayward's biggest contributions last year were on special teams. So Coletto knows that were he to win a job, he would have to do that too. But yeah, I think he's been impressing people out there, a true fullback, and that is so unheard of in the NFL and has really not even been part of what the Steelers have really been doing consistently, you know what I mean, for a while.
Steelers either have not had a true fullback or used one. They had Derek Watt, and
Yeah,
and he was
and I
just
know
there.
they had Connor Hayward in some looks like that, but not in the true sense of the word. And so, yeah, I think he brings some exciting opportunities. Do you know what I mean, to the team? And I'm curious to see if he makes it. I'm kind of pulling for him.
I love it. I love it. I hope they use fullback a lot. Let's
Yeah,
bring it.
agreed.
Um, one more thing. Cameron Johnston, I know it's just preseason. I know it's just training camp, but he looks like the real deal at punter. It's like we
He
finally got a
does.
good punter.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, how often do you get really excited about the punter during preseason? But I think we're all still like have PTSD from dealing with Harvin for the past few years and his inconsistencies. It feels like a breath of fresh air to see somebody that appears in preseason to be as, or training camp to be as consistent as he's been. Mike Tomlin singing his praises, when he talks to the media. Yeah, he looks really solid. So here's to hoping that that translates, gets his confidence boosted and translates, because I think that this new rule with the kickoff and all that stuff is going to be a little bit of a cluster, to at least to begin with. It'll be interesting to see how all that pans out. So it's nice to feel like at least when we get to punts, we have a decent punter.
Did you see that kickoff thing at the Hall of Fame game?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
the heck is going on here? What are we? I don't know. It just looks weird, and I just hope that the Steelers don't have this amazing team and then they lose games by 1 point because they kept giving up kickoff touchdowns or
Well,
something like
yeah, it's
that.
crazy because, I was saying to somebody else that we have struggled, the league struggles to get rules called correctly that they've had in place for a decade. You know what I mean? So it sounds like this is a lot more complicated and confusing, and there's some nuances to it. And so I'm concerned that it is going to be something that's going to be, for one thing, like maybe a bit of a time suck is they try to figure things out. And then also it's going to be one, like you said, where it's going to get, it's going to get called incorrectly and the Steelers are going to suffer for it.
Yeah, I just have a feeling, you know, Steelers will be up by 14 and then it's
Yeah,
like all of a sudden they kick it off. Oh, here's a touchdown. Oh, here's another
yeah,
touchdown. Like
yeah,
great. And then they'll come up with some other rules like, oh, actually, let's not do that or something like that.
right, right.
Oh, all right. We got to refresh. Is Ayuk a Steeler? Nope, nope.
Not
Still
yet.
no news.
All right. As of 7:45, he's not a Steeler.
Okay. So we're still. Hey, thanks so much.
Thanks, Joe. It's good talking to you.
Yep, you too. Bye.